Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Stacey and thank you for visiting my yoga channel. I appreciate each and every one of you. Today we are going to do a beginner's Vinyasa sequence. So let's grab some props and head over to the mat. For today's practice, all we're going to need is a cushion or bolster, something that we can place under the hips. So let's put that there now. And we're going to cross the legs in your comfortable cross. Bring the hands to the hips and have a quick check-in with the hips and the knees. So we want our hips and our knees to be around about hip height. I'll show you that from the side. So if you have a quick look at my hips, you'll see they're around about in line with my knees. This is really important because when we are sitting, we need to be able to lengthen the spine and draw strength from the sit bones down in the mat or the bolster. So let's find that, what I like to call wise effort in our seated position. Hip bones rooted down into the earth, crown reaching up to the ceiling, shoulders hanging soft from the spine, hands resting either on the knees or the thighs, and just allow the arms to hang like curtains between the shoulder and the hand. Now we're going to begin our sequence today just by setting an intention and warming up the body. So our intention for our practice today is to remain mindful of our poses throughout our practice. So we'll repeat that to ourselves 3 times in the present tense. You can do that quietly in your head. The intention we will repeat is, I am aware and I am present. Now release that intention. We're going to do some deep breathing. So inhale, draw your breath down as far as you can into your belly. Exhale gently through the mouth. Let's do another one of those. Inhale deeply, fill the belly. Exhale gently through the mouth. One more deep breath. Inhale deeply. Beautiful. Now our next exercise, being Circle of Joy, will start to enhance our breath to movement awareness. So let's bring the hands together in Anjali Mudra at the front of the heart space. Press the thumbs to the chest. Lace the fingers. Inhale, float the elbows up to shoulder heights. Exhale, press the hands forward, round through the spine, tuck the hips. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Reach up through the hands, straighten the elbows, open the armpits. Exhale, release the hands, slowly gliding down behind the body. Relace the fingers behind the body. Inhale, extend the arms, reach the chest open. Exhale, release, come back to center. Now I'm going to show you that from the side so you have a point of view, perspective of what our spine and our chest is doing through this movement. On this second round, we're going to cross over our legs to the opposite cross, so the way that feels strange. Let's bring the hands together at heart center and we're going to cross the fingers opposite bind as well. Inhale, float the elbows up to shoulder heights. Exhale, press and round through the spine, tuck the hips. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead, lengthening the elbows, opening the armpits. Exhale, release the hands, slowly gliding down behind the body. Reclasp behind the hips, opposite clasp. Inhale, extend the arms, reach the chest open. Exhale, release the hands, return Anjali Mudra at the front of the heart space. Beautiful work. Now we're going to meet again here in Anjali Mudra. You can keep the opposite cross on the legs so we can get used to that little bit of discomfort. Now just return to your breath, return to your intention, which is staying aware of your body and of your practice. On your next inhale breath, we're going to float the hands overhead. And then exhale, right hand reaches for the mat, left hand reaches over the body for our seated side moon. Inhale, we're going to come through center. Exhaling, left hand to mat, right hand overhead, reaching. Let's do that again. Inhale through center. Right hand to mat, left hand reaches over. Big reach, stretch from hip bone through to fingertip. Inhale, we come through center. Exhaling over to the left, reaching from sit bone to fingertip. Inhale back to center. Let's bring the hands together one more time. Anjali Mudra at the front of the heart space. And then we're going to roll over our shins and find tabletop position. So remove your bolster, just set it off to the side. And let's find our kneeling position. So this can be referred to as tabletop or 4-point kneeling or simply kneeling position, depending on what kind of teacher you get. I refer to this as 4-point kneeling. Let's bring the wrists below the shoulders and the knees below the hips. With the hands, see if you can create just a little bit of action, activity, a bit of heat in the hands so that we're pushing down through those top little knuckles of the fingers. Let's reach up through the shoulders. Make this position nice and stable. We're going to do cat-cow. So on an inhale breath, sink your belly, lift your eyes, lift your tailbone. Exhale, tuck your hips under, press the middle of the spine to the ceiling, push through the shoulder blades, eyes go to knees. Inhale as we sink and open through the front of the belly, shortening the back of the body. Exhale as we tuck and round, pressing through the back, shortening the front. So continue this at your own breath rate. So this is a really good opportunity to dial your breath into your movement. Start thinking a little bit more mindfully about how your breath links into your movement. Noticing how the inhale breath really wants to open the front of the ribs, and the exhale breath really wants to open the back of the ribs and contract the core. Let's do one more of these. Then we'll come back and find our neutral position, that 4-point kneeling tabletop. And you can either leave the toes untucked or tuck the toes under and sink the hips back to the heels. So we tuck the toes if we've got limited range here. So if you feel like this is enough for you, then keep the toes tucked. However, if you feel like you can get a little bit more out of this pose, let's untuck the toes. Hips come all the way back to the heels, and we're going to take an extended child's pose. So reach the fingertips forward, forward, forward. Keep reaching. Think about creating length from tailbone through to fingertip. Notice how the armpit opens. And as we breathe, we encourage a stretch into the sides of the ribs. And take 3 breaths here. Each inhale breath, just feel the breath coming into the ribs, expanding the side and the back. Each exhale, see if you can notice the heart space softening to the mat. Beautiful work. Now what we've done here as well is we've set our hand and foot positioning for a couple of important poses. The first one is our plank. So we're going to inhale, shift the weight forward so that our shoulders are over our wrists again. Tuck both of your toes under, and then on an exhale breath, lift your knees off the mat. So we should feel pretty comfortable and not have to make too many adjustments here for our plank pose. So make strength in those hands, push up through the shoulders. Take that little tuck. See how my heels are sort of pointing backwards and I'm closing my ankle joint at the front? Let's see if we can do that in our plank. So we're really working at the front of the shin. The whole body is working here to keep us in this plank pose. 3, 2, 1. Bend the knees to the mat. Inhale, breath. Exhale. Let's find child's pose again. Just taking a little recovery. Plank or plankasana can be quite a difficult pose to hold.
And it's nice to acknowledge those difficult poses. Take a moment after to soak in the benefits of heating up your practice, but also having heated ease, something we can hold, but it's difficult. Now, same thing here, we're going to set up for our downward facing dog. We're going to do very basic cueing for downward facing dog, because I'd like to break this pose down even further in another video. But for now, for our beginning practice, let's hinge forward, shoulders over the wrists, tuck the toes under. Now, without moving the toes or the hands, take an inhale breath. On the exhale breath, let's point our hips up towards the ceiling, extend the legs, and push the chest forwards towards the toes. Now, notice how my knees aren't locked out. Having straight legs and heels on the ground is not important in our downward facing dog. For me, the most important part of this pose is getting length from tailbone through to crown. Now, another thing I'd like you to focus on is your arms and shoulder blades. Make sure your arms are straight and imagine you're trying to fold your armpits in towards each other at the front of your chest. So we're activating our back muscles. One more breath here. And then we'll take an inhale, recoil into the legs, really bend, and then exhale, we're going to slowly walk forwards to the top of the mat and find our first forward fold. Now, forward fold is another position where we can feel a little bit vulnerable in our first ever yoga practice. So I'll give you two options. Our first one, bend the knees and rest the elbows on the knees. Make yourself a little platform here. So take a lot of the load and weight off the hips and the hamstrings. Now, if this is where you are, let's stay here. If you want to have a go at full form, Uttanasana forward fold, extend the hips to the ceiling, release the head down towards the mat. Think about trying to create length from your heel up to your hip. Bring some of your weight forward into the toes so you can feel the toes active on the mat. Now, the legs don't have to be perfectly straight. We can have a bit of a bend and release the shoulders, head, and neck towards the mat. Just let gravity take those parts of your body. Allow them to release down. Just feel that reverse of gravity's pull on your spine, the release of the vertebrae, the space coming into the discs, the decompression. Now we're going to take halfway lift next. Bring the hands to the shins. Extend your spine. Imagine you're trying to flatten your back out so that you could serve a cup of tea off your spine. It used to be referred to as flat back because our spine has natural curves. We like to call it a long spine. So think about length from tailbone through to crown. Now we're going to practice this. If you feel like, if you're not sure what your body's doing, maybe film yourself next time you do this. Have a look for length in the spine, stretching the hamstrings, opening the front ribs. So drawing the shoulder blades together, opening the front of the ribs. So let's repeat this a couple times to practice. Exhale into forward fold. Inhale into halfway lifts. Hands to shins. Extend the spine, open the front ribs. Exhale to fold. Inhale to halfway lift. And let's do this one more time. Exhale to fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Out of all the poses in yoga, this is the one that I find people misunderstand the most, is our halfway lift. So we want that length and opening in the spine, shoulder blades pulling together. Exhale to fold. Then we're going to inhale, roll up to standing. So roll through the spine, keep that bend in the knees. Roll all the way up to a standing position. Last thing to lift is your head and eyes. We'll take an exhale breath here. And then inhale, circle sweep the arms all the way up overhead. Bring the palms together, Anjali Mudra, through to the front of the heart space. And then finally, bring the hands beside the hips for Tadasana.
So in our Tadasana pose, we want to make strength like a mountain. Tadasana means mountain. So let's spread the toes, lift the toes up, spread them out, and then bring them down slowly to the mat. Draw strength from your heels up through your knees, lifting the knees with the thighs. Take that gentle tuck of the belly button towards the spine. Hands beside the hips, spread the fingertips, face the palms forward, draw the shoulder blades down, reach up through the crown. Feel your body strong and stable. Inhale, circle sweep, arms overhead. Exhaling to forward fold Uttanasana. Inhale to halfway lift. This one is Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold to Uttanasana. Bring your hands to the mat. We're going to take a big step back into plank. So stepping both feet back, finding your Plankasana, plank pose. So strengthen the hands, length from crown through to heels. That slight tuck under of the hips. Breathing here. Next inhale breath, we're going to reach the hips up, finding downward facing dog for the second time. You might feel like you need to adjust the toes just a little bit from our plank. That's okay. As long as we're finding that length from crown to tailbone. Heels can be lifted, knees can be bent, arms are long and strong, pushing the fingers into the mat. And remember, those armpits are pointing in towards each other at the center of the body at the front. One more breath here. Release to the knees. I'm going to tuck the toes, untuck the toes, sink back into child's pose. So just reversing our practice basically. 3 breaths in child's pose. This time we're going to take full form. Okay, so the arms in ahead, that's extended. If we've got the capacity in our hips and ankle joints, we're going to bring the knees together, the feet together, reach the hands around to the toes. So our pointer fingers are just making contact with the pinky toe there. Allow the arms to release to the mat, the shoulder blades to release, forehead rested down on the mat. If this position is too much on the hips or on your ankles, you can always revert back to an extended child's pose with the hips slightly lifted and the toes tucked. So this is another variation we can practice while our body's getting used to child's pose. Let's inhale, roll up through the spine. Come to seat over the shins. Now hero seat, reach up through the crown. And then we're going to transition our weight over to the hip. Bring the legs in front, shift the hips forward slightly. And slowly make your way down to the mat into a back lying position. Preparing for our Shavasana corpse pose, just a short one to finish our beginner's practice today. So feet just wider than hip distance and allow the toes to fall out. So the hips are externally rotating and the feet are completely relaxed. Bring the hands down beside the body, about a foot or so from the hips. Allow the shoulders to roll out so the palms face up. Take a moment to adjust the body. Any position or any adjustment that you can make, even if it's just a 5% difference in comfort, makes the world of difference in our Shavasana pose. Once you're comfortable and you feel even in the body, close the eyes down. We'll begin the practice with 3 deep breaths. So inhale through the nose, expanding the ribs and lungs. And then exhaling gently through the nose or mouth. Inhale deeply. And exhaling gently. One more. Inhale deeply. Exhaling gently. See if you can really lengthen this last exhale out. Draw all of the breath out of the body. Pause for a moment at the bottom of the exhale. Now breathe normally. And before we start our Shavasana practice, just bring some awareness to the eyes, the eyebrow, and the muscles around the eyes and temple. See if you can release as much tension from this area as you can. Check in with the jaw. Release tension or holding in the jaw, bringing the teeth apart. Just resting the tongue in the mouth. And finally, checking in with the shoulders and neck, allowing any tension or holding to release. Now I'm going to leave you in silence. During that time, if you're not sure what to do, a great practice during our Shavasana for beginners is to count backwards from 10 on each breath. So we'll inhale 10, exhale 10, inhale 9, exhale 9. Just continue until you get back to 1. If you get lost or you finish counting, just come back to 10 and continue. And just release any counting. Let's take a deep breath, really big inhale breath. Let's do a powerful release through the mouth. We'll take another inhale breath. This time bring the feet together. Bring the arms overhead. Reach through the body, take a big stretch. On the exhale, leave the arms overhead and just tuck the heels in towards the hips. You keep the eyes closed down during this transition. Roll over onto your right side. Just make a little pillow for your head with your right arm. And just notice how comforting this fetal position is. When you're ready, on an inhale breath, we'll push up to a seat. Let's find a cross-legged position. Hands to the knees. We'll finish the way we started today. So if you need your bolster, bring the bolster under the hips. Root down through the sit bones, reach up through the crown of the head. Rest the hands on the knees or the thighs. Allow the elbows to hang like curtains from the shoulders. Feel the length and strength in your spine and the softness and ease in your body around the spine. Let's bring the hands together at the front of the heart space in Anjali Mudra. Bow the head down towards the hands. Take a moment to revisit your intention from the start of our practice. Notice how that intention has helped your practice. Notice the things you've done for your body, the time you've taken, the effort, and know that what you're doing is helping you to move forward physically, mentally, emotionally. Thank you for practicing with me. May you be peaceful, may you be happy, may you be calm. Namaste.